We have returned once again to see if maybe we can get this quarterfinal underway. If you're not too sure what's going on right now, Machi have been late to their matches, so they have unfortunately been forfeiting 2 of their maps, I believe. Well, actually, okay, updated just to 1 map so far, so we will be beginning on the 2nd map. So it is a 1-0 lead for Xavier Esports instead of the previously reported 2-0 lead. And apologies for the delay again, but it appears that Machi are now available, so we should be heading into map number 2 very soon.
It's a bit of an unfortunate situation as well, but like we were saying just before the break, look, if Machi were going to win it, they can still win it. We are going to be kicking it off officially on King's Row. So their first one does automatically go the way of Xavier. They are technically 1-0 up in this series. That also means they're in this situation. If they can win this one, if they can pick it up, they only actually need to win 2 maps to win outright. This is a bit of arguably a boon for Xavier, who, let's be honest, do come into this match as the underdog.
Certainly so, and getting that 1 extra map victory will help in that regard. And I think despite that 1 map difference, if it was a 2 map difference, this may be a little bit too insurmountable. It should be too insurmountable. It would certainly be way more Xavier favored. They just need to win 1 map, but now because it's just a 1 map lead, I think it's still reasonably anyone's game. Machi, as the favored team, should be able to bounce back quite quickly.
It's a bit of an interesting situation, all told. A bit of an unfortunate situation for Machi, but at least a recoverable one. It does seem that whatever issue caused the initial map forfeit has now been resolved. They can get this underway. And that's a bit of a sigh of relief, I think, for these teams, you know. Or rather for this team. Maybe for Xavier, you might have been crossing your fingers at that point there that, hey, maybe you do just get the gimme. But at any rate, we play this one out from here with this 1 map deficit. And I actually think there's another interesting thing at play here, skipping out control altogether. We were talking about this earlier. The fact that it's Lijiang Tower off the table, we talk about how good Xavier is at that goat's shell composition that we talk about. It's now not potentially a boon for them, but we could still see a further control later on down the line. We kick things off on Hybrid.
The thing is, Xavier would, like you said, probably not be too concerned. I mean, they would be happy to just take the default win, but at the same time, there is some pride in actually beating your opponent and felling them the normal way and taking those maps off them and earning your spot in the semi-finals. And I think this was one of those matches that we did also want to see as well. Xavier versus Machi could be quite close, despite Machi being favored. That 1-0 does give Xavier an advantage. We'll see how quickly that can dissipate, or maybe Xavier can build upon it.
That's an interesting note, isn't it? We're not in that situation where it's a gimme through to the semifinals, but if it were, Xavier, you would have liked to have earned it just a little bit more. Well, hey, now they get their chance. Real and genuine. Let's see how they play this one coming out the gate. This is interesting. Hovering over a triple DPS, actually, for Xavier.
So far, Paddy Pan onto the Widowmaker. One of the main Widowmaker players. He is the main Widowmaker player, I should probably say, here for Machi Esports. Defending quite normally. The only difference we see is Staffordgen is on the Widow instead of a Hanzo, but otherwise nothing is quite different.
We do see... we do see a pick onto THK is what we see. Creative as well, getting one in there. I was going to say, what we do see is... There's quite standard Orisa defense here for Machi, and paying off, really not having too much issue connecting those shots with the spam damage out.
The interesting thing to note here is the ultimate charge being built up by Machi Esports. Everything else is kind of not that interesting so far. Paddy Pan's done enough damage to get himself an early infra site. It should be giving him a decent advantage going up against specifically Staffordgen, but otherwise Xavier Esports still struggling to make headway. 1 minute basically gone.
Yeah, now starting to actually get onto the point. They force Machi down onto it, trade 1 for 1, but you'd be sore for the loss of THK, and now especially the loss of Surgeon God's mech. These tradebacks aren't really enough right now, starting to get a bit more headway as Patapan picks his counterpart. We just need to see if this Earth Shatter can connect through out of Queen. He's already taken out the Riptide from Shui. That's pretty major, I have to say. And Xavier finally starting to get a big foothold on this point now.
Still have an Earth Shatter to play with as well if needed, but at this point you'd say probably not needed. Did take some time to get through, but within 2 minutes they will get that card underway. Some changes now onto the Machi side of things, looking to go onto double shield. Patapan might get a nice pick if they're not too careful on the Machi end of things.
Now starting to push on through, see if they can get some momentum on this side. A few picks would be all it takes. Not playing too far forward here just yet, Xavier, and that's going to give Machi an opportunity to defend at this archway.
And we're still waiting to see if Saijin God and maybe THK get these ultimates as well for Machi Esports. They need to make this first defense on be very, very effective, especially with the tie nearly into play.
Looking for an angle on this Earth Shatter is Queen. They need to get past the shield. Charge in is nice and catches the rest of the team in the Earth Shatter flat on their backs as the self-destruct comes out. That is excellent timing between the two tanks, and Xavier going to keep momentum on their side.
And they can push forward here if they like to as well. Currently 4 members, now 3 onto that cart. You don't really want to give Machi too much space to work with. They didn't spend any ultimates there, so they've been banking up, and the cart will move towards the intersection of B, but there will be another defense still. Machi will be able to regroup in time, and Staffordgen, you see on the right side of your screen right now, has that flank as well, ready to get some action in there.
Once again, you're in that situation where all it takes is just another headshot to keep the momentum going. There it is, it's Staffordgen who catches it onto Patapan, so it's the opposite, the momentum gets stopped up. Xavier still kind of have to stick in and brawl it out, and they do take out Staffordgen. It's going to have to be a coalescence committed. Keeps Tay alive, keeps the rest of the tanks topped off as well, but now they've got to deal with Shui's Riptide. Can Queen fire strike it out again as the res comes in onto Staffordgen? It's a bit of a wild goose chase here on this tire. Gets absolutely nothing for that.
But it does split the attention up and forces Xavier backwards, allowing Machi to regroup right now. And with that, Shui's going to find a kill into 30 corn. They have that player advantage, and they will extend that player advantage.
Shui getting that double is just so big for Machi. It really slam dunks any chance Xavier had of staying in the fight. And now this has been a lot of time spent not really getting much extra progress on the cart. They've been brawling, and it took a long time for the fight to finally go the way of Machi.
We finally do get to see these double tank ultimates come into play as well. Just the Graviton Surge waiting to be charged up from Judo's end. No real response on the Xavier side. We haven't seen the Dragon Blade just yet. We won't see the
Oh, yeah, straight out. There's going to be a sound barrier, though, to try and keep everyone alive, but no such luck. Now going to lose Queen here. Oh, that's a bit of a bungled charge there from Leo, but kill comes through anyway. That's what really counts. And again, Xavier just getting very stopped up here.
And outside of that initial momentum after capping A, going on to B, winning that team fight, this has all been Machi so far. Now it's a pseudo spawn cap. You have Staffordgen eyes onto the actual cap itself. Maybe THK can get this flank and collect this one kill and turn into a 6v5, but Staffordgen a little too smart for that.
THK still holding onto this blade. If they can get that in, then they've got a real open in this fight, Xavier, but they're still struggling to get past this choke point here. Need to find a way through.
The thing is, Xavier have been mostly on the same ultimates, whereas Machi has been rotating, and that means they use ultimates, they win with them, and they get them back ready to go again.
That was quite a big commit out of Burst to throw in the Valkyrie. Thirticon has chosen to match it. That just puts pressure on really both these teams to make something of it, and it's once again Machi making something of the situation. They've just got more tools, they've got more ultimates, and they've got the ground. They're not even fighting on the card here. THK shut down as he puts the blade out. They finally use a Transcendence to get on the cart, but they've got so few tools. That's so unfortunate. That's my mistake. That was Creative's Transcendence. That wasn't even Xavier getting on the cart.
I was going to say, I expected THK to maybe make a swap here. He'd been holding on to the Dragon Blade for a little bit too long. Couldn't find any mileage with that Genji. Going to something like Tracer, he might be able to find better flanks. That's that grab we're looking for.
Finally gets that one out. Counted out by Judo's grab, though. And again, it's already Shui that's the one actually getting the kills. That spam damage from the Junkrat. I mean, honestly, getting caught in a grab doesn't change too much for him there, just makes him a little more vulnerable. Speaking of, they finally get a wrap around him. THK already on this Tracer, making it work for his team as Queen goes forward as well, and they finally regain possession of the cart.
They lose so much time doing so, but you'll take the position of the cart anyway. You have to be able to look to cap out. Xavier now pushing forward, trying to take even more positioning off of Machi. Both teams freshly out of ultimates, except for Queen's Earth Shatter. With Creative down and Riz back in, there is some slowdown for the defense.
They're not actually able to come in and contest just because of that extra time having to raise Creative.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, headshot onto Staffordgen. It takes the supports out of the picture, but now more importantly, Shui as well. This is DPS's out of the picture. Xavier have room to play with.
Oh, wow.
3 for 3, Patapan with the hat trick.
That should be enough. That should definitely be giving Xavier now the advantage. They need to push in through. Machi Esports, they have ultimates to play through, but every single member that has the ultimates keep going down. Leo, no Earthshatter. Burst, no Valkyrie now. They continue losing members, and Xavier continue pushing.
Patapan couldn't find any more, but I tell you what, he found plenty enough. Couldn't find any more because they're all dead. Now going for a full commit here. Burst popping out the Valkyrie, matched by Thetacorn. There is an infrasight here from Patapan. He's got the angles in.
Just waiting for this tire to come out of Shui. We know it can do some real damage. Speaking of damage, it's Staffordson finding the shots.
And Patapan's so low here. Is going to stay alive for a moment longer, but it's only a moment. Realistically, Xavier were already beaten back the moment those headshots came out of Staffordson. Now Xavier, less than a minute, but also not much distance left on the cart. They can still do this.
This is where the ugly reality of the Xavier Esports delay on that B capture really comes back to bite them. They only have less than 1 minute now, 40-something seconds. It may not be enough.
Pulse bomb from THK does not connect. Now Machi have an ultimate advantage through and through. If Tay can get this Transcendence in time, they've got a saving grace here. That's only if they can kill something like this Rip Tire.
That's the thing they really need to do, and they have a grab to work with as well.
Creative Steads, that's very big. And there's the Transcendence in the middle of that grab. Also, Nuta's out the tire. Shui's the only one to get a kill. Queen's going big on the front line. That was a very deep dive from Leo that totally did not pay off. THK keeping a lid on Shui now, and this is Machi desperately getting the respawners in on the cart. Xavier have control through and through. I don't see Machi stalling this out for a whole lot longer. It's not quite the right angle there for the Earthshatter. Leo was on the other side, but he is now dead. No more contest. Just barely went into the overtime, which is a little unfortunate if you get in a time bank situation, but crucially Xavier cap.
That's the point, right? They get to go into a time bank situation. That's only if Machi can do the same thing on their own offense. And there was a lot of slowdown. That B push nearly didn't work out for Xavier. That nearly was a full B hold for Machi. But now, the possibility for Xavier to complete this defense and win this map, putting themselves at match point, mind you, is certainly nigh. And for Machi, the work is on their shoulders.
It is very possible. That's the interesting thing. It feels weird to say match point because we've also only just got into this series, but I mean, hey, that's just how things work out. Now let's see if they can do it on the defense. Just, I mean, even just a good point A hold here. That's a win right there for Xavier. That's more than enough.
A significant delay here is required because you also don't want to be in a position where if Machi do cap out the map, they do so with time that will give them too much to work with in the time back. That'll put you in a sort of scenario where the best you can hope for is probably just a draw. So for Xavier Esports, a full defense somewhere along the line, or at least pushing things into overtime if Machi can.
That would really be ideal. If they can't get a full hold, they need to slow Machi down. They need to harass them as the cart moves. Or ideally full hold anyway. And they're running this team comp that has just worked so well for them in the past. This is something I'm expecting good things out of.
Just looking at the opening compositions here as well. For Xavier Esports, it's, again, this kind of GOATS-ish kind of composition. Thetacorn's going to be playing the Ana, so if they're expecting Machi to be running a lot of tanks, the Bionade will be coming in handy. But Patapan, he's the X factor here. He's not the one playing what you'd normally expect in a GOATS comp. He's going to be bringing out the Hanzo.
You know, that's it. I'm officially christening this team composition GOATS in the Shell, where you're running mostly a GOATS and then you swap out one of the 3 tanks to put in a different DPS, something that can flex about a little bit more. Thetacorn getting right up close and personal with that bio grenade does pay off. They pick creative, but they're at risk of losing THK here. Finally goes down, but not before picking Judo, and they get Leo as well. Machi will have to take this as a loss.
The flank from Thetacorn coming in, Bionade lands a sleep out as well. The bubble from Judo not coming in time. And for Xavier Esports, they do get to collect that very early lead, which also gives them some very decent ult charge to work with. That being said, though, if you look at the other side for Machi Esports, Shui and Staffordson keeping up.
Yeah, you see Patapan, though, picking Staffordson out of the sky. That doesn't matter that he's keeping up. Leo as well, Zed, Xavier really keeping a lid on this. THK is only just rejoining the fight now. He actually wasn't there right at the start. That was almost no contest there from Machi.
It's a full reset, losing a lot of time. Note that Xavier Esports took until about 2 minutes 20, 15-ish to be able to fully cap out A. So Machi Esports looking to be doing so in the similar amount of time, and that is assuming they can actually win this fight. They're at an ultimate disadvantage. And Xavier Esports expecting the Nano Boost to come into play in a very effective manner.
There we go, Staffordson showing why this team comp works for this team. Already with that ultimate out now and has been doing so well prior to this anyway. Again, Leo goes down. They don't get much out of that Dragon Strike, unfortunately, but they've got a bit of a window still ahead in this fight, Xavier.
They do have other roles to work with, assuming Queen can survive here. Healing onto him is imperative right now.
He's going to be fine.
Does manage to cop a few bullets from Diddycorn to keep him up in there.
Oh, that's clouded with a chance of justice being the weather forecast, but the trade backs up big. Creative going down early was so huge as well. And that Staffordson and Shui both committing ultimates there, getting nothing for it. This is starting to become a really dangerous hold if you're a Machi fan. That's going to be the counter grabs come out from Judo, but they're still not getting much. Patapan's second Dragon Strike of this fight to help close off these last few members.
That's so important, giving Xavier Esports the opportunity to regroup on that defense. 143 now. It's just a lot of time being wasted. Machi Esports now don't even have ults to work with outside of one Earth Shatter. And the Nano Boost available again for Diddycorn. And Xavier Esports have not given up a single tick.
There's that rally as well. Xavier are now officially entrenched. They have extra health in the bank for themselves, and it just means it's an even more uphill fight for Machi. Leo already pressured low and down. Xavier are playing this so well. The trade back comes in though. So, not out of the woods yet here, Xavier. The closer respawns are there for Machi, and they're trying to lean into them,
down.
which means Xavier have to go forward to get kills, which they do. Res onto Leo as well. Xavier in with this sound barrier. Queen's dead. They're having a harder time in this fight, and there's the connection from the rocket barrage. The Transcendence on the ground as well keeps the tanks alive, and it means that Machi will finally break this point A. It's not a full hold for Xavier though, but it is so much time lost.
And that's the thing about Machi Esports, they have other threats. Shui may go down, but because Staffordsson's alive, the Rocket Barrage can still do a lot of work. Only Pattypan can really counter him up before THK then swaps onto Widowmaker, of course. But Pattypan died on about 90% ult charge. If there was another Dragon, we could have seen a turnaround.
The reality is now it is another Dragon. We saw THK getting a headshot just a few moments ago, so Xavier have an opportunity to, if not get a hold going at this choke point, to again just burn some of Machi's clock away.
This is about where you want to fight if you're Xavier Esports. Send that Dragon through, then send your tanks forward.
Ooh, they're gonna have to throw it out now. No, Pattypan's dead too early. Too quick, rather, going down in that Graviton Surge. That's so unfortunate. They had an opportunity to throw it out even when he was in the grab, choosing not to just cost Xavier.
That's an important fight to lose. I mean, for Xavier Esports, they had such a great advantage. 4 ultimates to what is just 1 right now. Shui's about to hit that tire. The next time Xavier go in to try and defend, they have to contest the tire. If Shui gets a number of kills, especially ones that shut down ultimates on Xavier's side, that's a Machi victory.
That headshot just straight on through. Judah getting low as well. This is where Xavier needed to take aggressive fight. Look, Leo hit a lamppost. That's rough. And Shui down as well.
Oh, man, a hammer
from the backside, but a counter one onto Leo. There was no one who could even follow up on that Earth Shatter anyway. Maybe not necessary out of Queen, but the more important thing is that Xavier have control of the payload once again.
They have a defensible position as well. And 1 Earth Shatter down for the side of Machi. Xavier will be happy to be able, I mean, they trade 1 shatter for shatter, so it doesn't really make a huge difference at the end of the day. They still do, however, need to get past that tire. Shui is the dangerous one right now.
Straight across the team in the grab. It is a weakened combo in its current state, but it is still plenty effective for Xavier. Again, this is starting to become a situation of so much time lost for Machi.
You're expecting now Machi to go into the overtime if they do actually win a push as well. And that's expected for Xavier Esports. They'd be quite happy to see that. They want this to go into overtime. They want to bleed as much time as possible. And that's if they actually fail to completely hold B, which is looking more and more likely as we go forward.
You did see Patapan go down there, and he's opting onto the Doomfist. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Maybe just wants to be able to get to the cart quickly, but they lose so much pressure. They've got so much done with that Hanzo previously.
Fire. Going to come in from the side, and Shui again needs to look for a decent amount of Pixie. If he gets just a couple of tags, nothing.
Shut down. Thittercorn gets the last blow on that. THK headshot Staffordson. Already off to a dangerous start here for Machi. Oh, Patapan throws himself right into the grab and dies cost him his life there. Tay with the Transcendence wasn't quite quick enough to save him. Sage and God, though, is going to get saved.
Down.
Shatter out from Queen. They kill Judo. They've also got Shui. They're getting the kills through. They're getting so many through. It is, and it's now Stephagen out onto the Wrecking Ball to try and get a run around here. Fits very nicely into that tube station. Needs to get onto that cart to try and stall it. Burst staggered in the most disgusting way imaginable. Here's the Wrecking Ball. They haven't spotted it yet. It will buy them overtime, but they need to get the rest of the team in, and by the time they get there, Stephagen will be dead. Shui is already low. Burst only just respawning on the Lucio. Creative got picked out as well. Leo's down. The whole team is crumbling. Not even going to cap out B. Xavier just pushed it to match point. I don't care about that match 1 forfeit. If Xavier win it from here, they deserve it.
It's still a 2-0. It's still a 3-0. Technically, you look at the way Kings Road was played. Xavier finished the map. Machi got held up at B for all the difficulty Xavier had on their attack. It didn't matter at the end of the day. They were able to complete the defense. They had such a solid B defense here. In fact, even the A was very, very good, especially considering what Machi had on their own defense. This is by and all a very well-deserved victory for Xavier Esports on the second map.
It was just good. It was just better than what Machi did there. There's no two ways about that. And again, man, we talked about this so much before this, right? We talked about that, and I'm sticking with this name, that goats in the shell, right? You run most of goats, you swap out one of the tanks. Xavier liked to swap out the Diva in that regard, map depending. You pop Patapan onto something else so that you've got other options against the other team. You also get new combos unlocked. It's technically less ideal in the raw sense of goats itself, but they create these other opportunities and they maximize them. Look at how much Patapan got done on the Hanzo on that defense. Absolutely game-changing. So many Dragon Strikes out. Even when they weren't getting kills, they were splitting the team, they were pressuring members out, and they were getting people low such that the rest of that aggressive team comp could finish them off.
I want to commend the tanks on the side of Xavier as well for being able to assist in that endeavor. It's not a one-man show from Patapan. It is a team effort at the end of the day, but he is the one to look out for with that 2-0, like you can sort of see here. Kings Row and Lee Jung being picked up officially. And I guess this part is really interesting. But technically, look, it is halftime, and halftime does mean that we do have to go to a break. So when we do come back, we're going to be concluding things here in the final quarterfinal of Pacific Season 2. Will it be Machi? Will it be Xavier? Find out after this.